Hello, happy Monday. I am going through this phase right now where I'm trying to do all the things that make you supposedly a real adult. So, I'm going to talk a little bit today about what the question, what is ADHD like? Because I get this question all the time. And it's funny because I just sort of got this question again, and I went back and I'm doing those adult things like journaling and whatnot. And I put out a post today about this because I just keep thinking if I go and I journal and I do all the adult things, maybe I can produce some kind of content that's beneficial to people. And again, I keep getting this question, even sometimes from my own husband, what is ADHD like? And I keep thinking, I'm searching for a way to answer that question. I'm constantly writing and adulting or trying to adult and do all the things. And then it was like a miracle. I came across an article from Josh Spector. He has a website. It's called For the Interested, and it's actually an older article, but it was about what happens when you write down 50 words or ideas or phrases about a topic. And because I'm trying to be all responsible and do all the things, I was like, okay, I'll take Josh Spector's idea here and I will write down 50 things, 50 words or ideas that describe what is ADHD like, that answer that question. What is it like? What does it feel like to have ADHD? And so I put it all down, and then I was like, oh, I'll just post it on my website. I mean, people might hate it, and they still might hate it because it's not like I wrote this really nicely. I didn't do a lot of like grammatical niceties and make it look pretty, but I thought I would share it because this is a question. When you have ADHD and you explain it to people or you try to explain it to people, it's hard. And you get these questions like, what does that feel like? Or how do you know? How do you know you have ADHD? So let me come down here. I'm going to read some of the words that I wrote. I was supposed to do 50 and I ended up with like 54 or 55. And then some of them were like bad words that I didn't want to put on the interwebs. So I'm just going to read like the 42 or 43 of them that I decided were acceptable. So to answer the question, what is ADHD like? It's like trying to answer the question and not being able to for years at a time. No, just kidding. Okay. First word, diagnosis. It is a diagnosis. ADHD is a diagnosis. It is a label. In some ways, you could say it's a life sentence because it's something that probably will not go away. And that is something you have to deal with once you have the label, the diagnosis. Second word is disbelief. Sometimes you will be a non-believer. You will run into non-believers in your own family, in people that you really care about. And when you start to believe that it's not a real thing and that there's just really something wrong with you, it's not ADHD, there's just something wrong with you, that is the worst. So disbelief is my word number 2. It's disbelief from yourself and disbelief from others. Number 3 is disorganization of your mind. That's one of the key aspects. Like I get on here to make a video and I'm totally disorganized. It's just the way I am. Disorganization of the mind, disorganization of the environment, disorganization in your relationships because you can't organize your thoughts enough to express them and tell the people in your life what you need from them and what you feel about them. Even your attempts to organize your organizational issues, your attempt to handle, that will be disorganized. Like it's the name of the game. Number 4 is acceptance. We are constantly searching for acceptance from others and even more so from ourselves. We make big mistakes and we try really hard. Sometimes we say things just to make it sound like we're like everyone else. So acceptance, we're all looking for acceptance and we're all looking for self-acceptance, which is word number 5. There are moments when you're like, you know what? I'm okay with this. Like I can deal with this. And then there are moments when you are like, I can't deal with this. This isn't my life. This can't be me. Like what is wrong with me? So you go back and forth between feeling like you have some kind of self-acceptance, and then realizing in maybe the next moment that, I don't know, maybe you were just feeling good for a couple minutes and then you stumble again. It's a thing. And we lack some self-awareness. I've written about this before. Your mood and your level of self-acceptance tends to fluctuate, just like your level of self-awareness tends to fluctuate when you have ADHD. Word number 6 is fear. So much fear. Fear of being found out. Fear of not hiding it well enough. Fear of being rejected and criticized because of what you think and feel are your shortcomings. Worst of all is the fear that maybe you should just give up. Like, what would happen if I just gave up? If I stopped trying to write, if I stopped trying to build a community, if I just let the ADHD take over, like, that is the biggest fear of all, that I would go there, that I would just give it up. Word number 7 is shame. There's shame about all of it. There's shame about the label. There is shame about what we think are our deficits and the things we're screwing up. We carry shame into our relationships, into our journals, our lives, our interactions, our parenting. ADHD creates a lot of almost magnified shame. I wrote about this too. I have an article about rejection-sensitive dysphoria, but we are sometimes feeling ashamed without any cause at all. It's a thing. It's an ADHD thing. Number 8 is confusion. Who, what, where, why, what? I said that? What? When? Total confusion. We miss a lot of details, and we miss dates, and we forget things. And life, like our memory, everything's so blurry and fragmented, and there's bits and pieces of things. And I can't remember what happened first and what happened second. And confusion reigns in the ADHD brain for whatever reason. Well, we know why, but because of the way our brains are wired and structured, confusion about everything. Number 9 is feeling different. Most of us have known we were different, even as children. We might not have expressed it really clearly, but most of us knew that we were different. We feel more restless sometimes. As kids, we can be hyperactive, and sometimes there's sensory seeking. Sometimes we feel irritable. There are days full of irritability and restlessness and wondering why life is not more interesting to us. Why isn't it more interesting? Like that makes me agitated just thinking about it. Like, why can't life be more interesting? Because I have ADHD. Yeah. Okay. Number 10 is fear of failure. We've failed at a lot of things. We almost expect failure. A lot of us, not everyone, but a lot of us expect failure. Fear of success. If we were successful, people would be like, how did you do that? Did you cheat? Did you do something wrong? It feels like sometimes I feel that way. Like, what if I successfully run a new program for women with ADHD? Then the question will be, Liz, you don't really have ADHD. If you were successful at this, there's no way you have ADHD. That fear of success and fear of failure, it's an issue. Number 12, mental exhaustion. I got tired just writing this, and I get tired just making this video. Seriously. It's like your brain, you can only do it, engage it for so long, even with medication. And then I'm just tired. Like tonight, I will sleep. Mental unrest. Sometimes we can't sleep. Sometimes our brain won't stop. Sometimes we have crazy dreams. Some ADHDers have night terrors. And then when you try to take sleeping medication, you do crazy things like sleepwalk and you don't even remember it. Our brains never stop. And sometimes when you're feeling down, you might actually sleep too much. But even then, your brain will never stop. Let's see. Number 14, a life less ordinary. At some point, you come to the realization that your life will never be exactly like your best friends, or maybe your brother or sister. Like, your life will never be like everybody else's. Everything will always be a little bit more challenging. You may have to go at your goals from a different angle. That's not to say you can't achieve anything, but you might have to work harder than the average bird. Number 15, emotional overload. Big feelings. This is exactly why I started the website and the community. We have big feelings. We experience life through emotion. We make our decisions through emotion. it is very hard for us to access our logical thinking in our executive functions. I've written about that too. Indecisiveness. It is very hard to decide. Sometimes it's hard to decide little things like, what should I eat? What should I wear? What do I do with this random piece of mail? Decision making, and weighing options. Not easy. Executive functions. I have whole articles on this. I don't want to talk for hours about executive functions. Overwhelm. Life is completely overwhelming. This is number 18. Life is overwhelming. I often cannot picture the end game. So it's really hard for me to picture the steps I need to take. I can't picture what my house looks like completely organized and decluttered. So I don't know what the first step should be. That makes life really overwhelming to not be able to picture it. If you can't plan the steps for things, everything feels overwhelming. If you can't picture the end game, everything feels overwhelming. Number 19, this is kind of a nice one, a tribe. When you find out you have ADHD and you work through it and you accept it, all of a sudden you're part of a large and loving family. I met some people down at Chad that were just amazing humans. So welcome to the tribe. Number 20, time blindness. My friend Jacqueline has an awesome article about this. Russell Barkley talks about this. Time blindness. We don't know what time it is. We're late. We forget things. Time ceases to exist. We have a hard time sticking to schedules. Some of us do really well with timers. Sometimes the timers make us mad and we throw them across the room. I've never done that, ever. Hope. Number 21 is hope. There are moments of light. When you have a day where you don't know how you did it, but somehow you ticked off all 3 items on your list. Yes, 3. Don't put 10 items on your list or 20. If you have gone the day and you have done everything you wanted to do, that is a moment of hope. That means today, all those neurochemicals in your head came together. Everything worked. Maybe even the therapy you've been going to, everything came together. And sometimes, once in a while, you will meet someone, like at the CHAD conference, you might meet somebody who makes you feel understood. You might join a group like my Coaching Corner group, and you meet these other women, and all of a sudden you realize you don't have to explain yourself. That's hope, bottled in a group. Hope. Number 22 is lack of hope. Sometimes it does feel like nobody in the world gets us. 23 is humor. There is so much laughter to be found in the ADHD life. If you look for it, you can find it. It's there. I like to think that I have a sense of humor. Number 24 is sadness. When you are diagnosed, sometimes there's a mourning period. Actually, maybe always there's a mourning period. I was diagnosed at age 11, and I had to deal with it. And in fact, I pushed it down for a long time and pretended like it wasn't a real thing. There's also a period of sadness when you're diagnosed later in life. I've had people ask me, if I had known, I could have done something. Everything would be different. Yeah, and you're entitled to that sadness when you find out that ADHD is the reason why things have been hard for you or why you felt different. Depression. A lot of us will deal with depression at some point. Some of us deal with it all the time. It depends on the season and the stage of your life that you're in. And of course, genetics. Some of us are more genetically prone to anxiety, ADHD, depression. It's about genetics. Anxiety, so much anxiety. I wrote a whole article about this actually recently. I think it's called like 5 things you need to know about ADHD and anxiety. Sometimes we feel really pathetic. This is number 27. Sometimes I feel personally like I shouldn't need medication to get through my life. Sometimes I think it's really pathetic that I have to rely on my husband to remind me of things. I have to rely on my husband to be like the breadwinner in our house sometimes because it's just not my forte, is it? Making money, holding down a job, it's not my strong suit. I wrote in this article, when you cannot adult in the way the world expects you to, you feel pathetic. It's a strong word, it's an ugly word, but number 27 is sometimes we feel pathetic. We feel stuck is number 28. Unable to move forward. We can't remember all of our past mistakes really clearly. So it's hard to take action now. Sometimes, and I wrote this, I feel like I'm in a deep, swampy muck, but it's my own creation. Like I am stuck. I am stuck all the time. Even when I'm making some forward motion, I still often feel very stuck. Stuck in our head, racing thoughts. It's a real thing. Number 30, self-regulating. This is the core of ADHD. Sometimes we feel like we can't control ourselves and we hyper focus on something that we can control. If we can't control our brain, if we feel like we can't control who we are on a very basic level, some of us turn to really unhealthy coping mechanisms. Some of us hyper focus on controlling food. Some of us self-medicate and drink. We do all kinds of things. Some of us might even try to control other people and become very codependent in our relationships. Anyway, self-regulation, feeling like you can't self-regulate, that is a terrible feeling. And so, yeah, that's number 30. 31 is loneliness. It's a lonely life when you doubt yourself and you doubt your worthiness and you doubt your ability to make it through life. That is lonely. Yeah. 32 is trauma, childhood trauma. A lot of us experienced a lot of negativity as kids. And it's not because we have ADHD, but a lot of children with ADHD experience way more. And I forget what the statistic is, but a lot more negative feedback from the adults in their lives, from their teachers and their coaches and their parents. We receive a lot of negative feedback, and that is a form of trauma, especially when it started in your childhood. Number 33, we always want to be more positive, more attentive, more the person that our families and our spouses and our children want us to be and need us to be. We always want to be smarter and more organized and more together and more in control. More than anything, we want to be more in control of ourselves. And that feeling of not being able to control yourself, yeah, it's not good. 34, wanting to control it, but knowing we cannot control ADHD. You can take a drug, you can take a medication, you can go to therapy, you can do all the things, but you can't really control it. It's there. It's not just going to go away miraculously. But that lack of control, that, sometimes you have to contemplate that a little bit. It's tough. 36, anger. Okay, I wrote a whole bunch of stuff under anger because I don't know about you, but as a person with ADHD, I go through periods of anger, so much asking myself why, feeling angry at myself, at my brain. When I realized that ADHD was completely brain-based, I actually felt more angry at myself. Like, what is wrong? Like, why in the world is this my brain and why is this happening? Sometimes we feel anger that we can't control ourselves a lot of the time. I am angry enough for both of us. So if I've ever let you down, chances are I am punishing myself more harshly than you ever could. Yeah. And for years I pushed down that anger, that sort of instinctual anger at this being my reality. And then when it all bubbled back up, it was worse. Like it was terrible. And then I started this community. Anger at people without ADHD. I've written about this. I'm really jealous sometimes of people that can just do things, that can just be like, oh, I have work to do. Got to do it. Got to clean my house. Got to get it done. Oh, I know what to do first. Yeah, I'm jealous and it makes me angry. So sometimes I snap at people when I feel angry that they can do things that I cannot do. Insecurity about everything, about all of it. Overeating. Many, many women with ADHD overeat. Maybe not all the time. Some people have an actual binge eating disorder, but we're always trying to fill the void, always trying to feel grounded or push the feelings down. There's a statistic out there that a large percentage of the people in inpatient eating disorder clinics also test for ADHD. So that idea of being able to control something, feeling out of control, wanting to control everything, stuff it down. Number 40, we're getting to the end, undereating. I know some women with ADHD who are also restrictors, who undereat because it is the only thing they feel they can control in their life. Number 41 has a bunch of words in a row: Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, Vyvanse. It doesn't matter what the name of the medication is. At some point, if you have ADHD, you may try some of these medications, and sometimes they work. Sometimes you go through periods where you're like, yes, I have found the right medication and the right therapist, and I'm making things work. And then there are times when it doesn't work. No medication is going to fix everything. And no therapist. I've had great therapists, but no one's going to fix everything. So, oh, and just for clarification, none of us with ADHD really want to rely on medication. It's about quality of life. It's not about getting high. And I know that people think it's about, taking amphetamines. That's not what it's about. It's about quality of life. And number 42 is frustration. So much frustration every single day. I live my entire life in frustration. Yeah, frustration and control. Frustration and control. Those are the two words that best describe, that best answer the question, what is ADHD like? It is like feeling frustrated all the time. Frustrated because you can't control so many things about yourself. So this was long. I'm going to turn it off. I hope this answers that question. What does it feel like? What is ADHD like? I hope it answers the question for you. I hope it's not too boring for you. I would love to hear your comments. What does ADHD feel like for you?